More racially fueled trouble in Oldham this weekend. How many more towns have witnessed scenes like this summer? We're bringing you live broadcast from Oldham this morning. Good morning to you. This is the News Hour on GMTV. I'm Kay Garrow for you here in London. It's 6 o'clock on Monday, the 30th of April. Well, as I say, we have a special edition of the News Hour this morning. John Stapleton is in Oldham, his hometown. We'll have more from there throughout the morning. And also coming up, well, George W. We assess his first 100 days as president. And imagine waiting more than 6 weeks to find out if you won £3 million in the National Lottery. And then after all of that, have your dreams shattered and find out you can't take the money. We'll be speaking to the couple that went through all of that a little bit later. But first, here's Andrea with the weather picture.
Good morning, Kate. Thank you. Good morning. Well, as you can see, some clear skies across parts of the country at least. We do have some cloud creeping into the south and west, south and east. That'll continue to do that during this morning. Also some fairly heavy showers across northwestern parts of Wales and England. And if we take a look at this morning's chart, I think any early morning mist patches will very quickly start to disappear, and many places are going to enjoy some sunshine. Later on this morning, though, the cloud will increase, especially across the southeast. That's that system that you saw trailing across Europe. That's going to be moving in towards us, but generally it is going to be quite a bright day. Some fairly heavy showers though remaining across the north and west. Still quite a keen northerly wind, but temperature wise not doing too badly. Double figures everywhere, could well see highs of 12 or 13. I'll give you more details in around 20 minutes. Kate.
Andrew, thanks very much indeed. Doesn't sound too bad, does it? Well, I think we can now take you to John Stapleton in Oldham for us this morning. Good morning, John.
Yes, good morning to you, Kate. Sad to report that yet more racially fueled violence in Oldham over the weekend. It happened on Saturday before and after the football match between Oldham Athletic and Stoke City. 2 petrol bombs thrown, several people injured, 14 arrests, 3 police officers suffering minor injuries and damage to both property and cars. It happened, as I say, before and after the Stoke City Oldham game, and it has to be said that a small section of Stoke City fans have a reputation for this kind of racial abuse. It's very unfortunate that they were playing Oldham on Saturday. Had it not been Stoke City, all of this may never have happened. The pictures you're looking at now were shot by Kuldeep Channa, one of our researchers here on GMTV, and she joins me now here in Oldham. Kuldeep, just talk us through what you saw and heard.
Basically, I heard that there was National Front fans and Stoke fans had gone through a predominantly Bangladeshi area, gone through, made some threats to the community, caused some damage to property and promised to come back after the match. By the time I got down there, the Asian youth had gathered in anticipation for the Stoke fans to come back through. By this time, the police had gathered to create a dividing wall between the youth and the path that the National Front were going to take.
And when you talked to the various factions there, what sort of messages were you getting? What were they saying?
It was interesting to hear different people's versions of events. People chose to omit certain bits of information, and from speaking to people this weekend, that seems to be the problem. There's misinformation being distributed and nobody knows what's going on, and everybody chooses to react to.
Everyone has their own take on what actually happened. OK, Kuldeep, for the time being, thanks very much indeed. Let me tell you, Kate, I'm here in the Glodic area of Oldham, one of the areas where there have been a few problems of late, and behind me, as you can see, a mosque symbolising the multiracial society in which we now live. Over here, some of the traditional housing that was built when Oldham had a booming cotton industry, 150 mills here at one time. Now there's not a single one. And over here, some of the new housing that's been built as part of the economic regeneration that went on once that cotton industry died. But, as Kuldeep was saying, it hasn't worked perfectly anyway. In small pockets of this town, there is undoubtedly racial tension. There's an increase in the number of attacks by Asians on whites, but it's not as simple as that. It's a complex problem, this, and many people here say it's no different to the problems experienced in several other towns up and down the country. We'll be hearing a lot more from both sides of the divide throughout this morning's programme. Meantime, back to you, Kate.
Thank you very much indeed, John. We'll be returning to John in about 10 minutes' time. Now let's get this morning's news stories from Anne. Good morning, Anne.
Morning, Kate. Thank you. Good morning. Police in London say that they're prepared to use rubber bullets for the first time in Britain during their biggest ever peacetime operation. More than 6,000 officers will attempt to stop anti-capitalist protesters bringing chaos to the capital on May Day tomorrow. The main shopping area of Oxford Street is thought to be one of the main targets. Our correspondent Alan Fisher is there for us now. Alan, good morning to you. Why is it such a big operation?
Good morning, Anne. Well, police are determined to avoid the repeat of the scenes of violence that we saw across London last year. In fact, 14 major statues and monuments have been boarded up, including the statue of Winston Churchill, to protect it from any protesters. It, of course, was defaced during last year's protest. It started out as a Reclaim the Streets guerrilla gardening protest in Westminster, an area in Parliament Square, and from there it erupted into violence which stretched right away along Whitehall up to Trafalgar Square and led to pitched battles between police and anarchists and anti-capitalist protesters, which caused millions and millions of pounds worth of damage and also did a lot of damage to London's prestige in the international tourist market.
So what attitude are police taking to these protests?
Well, they've been very clear. They will operate a zero-tolerance policy as of tomorrow. No one will be allowed to commit any criminal offence without being arrested. In fact, there will be 6,000 police officers from the Metropolitan Police, the City of London Police and the Transport Police on duty. There'll be areas where they can hold 2,000 people, and if anyone causes any trouble, then they will be immediately arrested. And of course, as an absolute last resort, they say they will use rubber bullets if in fact any protests get out of hand.
OK, Alan, we'll leave it there for now. Thanks very much indeed. The Tory party's leading black member is stepping up his blistering attack on William Hague. Lord Taylor of Warwick has warned he may walk out of the party if the MP John Townend escapes punishment over his controversial comments on immigration. Lord Taylor says Mr Hague is guilty of weak leadership. Our protests are expected to continue today at a landfill site in Devon, where the carcasses of slaughtered animals affected by foot and mouth have been dumped. Jackie Cabler is there for us. Jackie, good morning. Can you tell us what the latest is?
Good morning. Yes, big protests here over the weekend. 3 people arrested, in fact. You can see already this morning we've got a big group of protesters arrived. The problem is that this is a landfill site normally used for domestic waste, and people are very concerned that the carcasses of dead animals are going to have health implications for this area. There's already a heavy police presence here. More carcasses due to arrive at about 7:30 this morning. Now, it's not the only place in the country where there have been problems. Up in Northumbria at Witherington, protesters stopped 8 lorries getting into a landfill site over the weekend because fluid was leaking onto the road. And in Wales, at Welshpool, 1,500 sheep carcasses are being dug up at the moment because blood was seen bubbling up through the ground, so pretty horrendous. However, some good news for farmers in Cumbria. They're going to be getting some mini breaks to help them get over foot and mouth. A new scheme just launched will give them holidays for 3 days at hotels across Cumbria, so a mixed bag.
OK, Jackie, thanks very much. Jackie Cabler reporting live from Devon for us this morning. Some unionists are calling for Northern Ireland's Education Minister Martin McGuinness to be arrested over his links with the IRA. The Sinn Féin MP is expected to admit to the Savile inquiry that he was the terrorist group's second in command in Londonderry on Bloody Sunday, but he'll deny allegations that he fired the first shot. 13 people died when the army opened fire. Nelson Mandela has paid tribute to Britain for its role in ending apartheid in South Africa. He addressed thousands at a special concert in London to say thank you for years of support against the regime. Emma Maxim reports.
A 20,000-strong crowd packed into Trafalgar Square to see one man.
I am happy to be in Trafalgar Square, where one of the most important battles of liberating South Africa was fought right here.
The Freedom Day concert was held here because it was the site of anti-apartheid demonstrations over 30 years. A sea of revellers braved the April showers to see the guest of honour, as well as a host of international acts, with South African artists too paying tribute to the civil rights champion. The concert was in aid of the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund and the Prince's Trust.
Brings time to 9 minutes past 6. I'll be back again at past. Now then, let's get news, weather and travel wherever you are.
Good morning, I'm Paul Green. The headlines in London today. Peace talks aimed at averting this week's planned tube strike will take place later today as the RMT union meets London Underground at the conciliation service ACAS. LU have threatened legal action against the RMT if it didn't call off the 24-hour strike over jobs and security, which is due to start at 8 p.m. on May the 2nd. But the two sides have now agreed to meet and to use their best endeavours to resolve the dispute. Westminster Council has been finalising its contingency plans ahead of tomorrow's May Day protests. Last year's demonstrations caused £500,000 worth of damage. This time, the Council's drawn up a list of safety rules which have been distributed to businesses across the borough. It's also making sure potentially dangerous objects such as scaffolding and skips are removed from the streets.
Most of the protest appears to be peaceful, and as I say, we have that every day here. But there is a hardcore who appear to be out for trouble. So the main thing is we're taking reasonable precautions to minimise any damage that could be done. And also we've got staff on standby to clear up straight away if necessary.
Police in Wandsworth are appealing for information as to the whereabouts of a teenage boy. David Oliver went missing from his grandparents' house in Battersea last Saturday, aged 16. He has a mental age significantly younger and is described as being easily led. Anyone with information is being urged to call Wandsworth Police on 0208 672 9922. That's 0208 672 9922. Feeding the pigeons in Trafalgar Square ends today as Mayor Livingston's controversial ban comes into force. However, campaigners are set to descend on the square in protest over the plan they say will mean the starvation of hundreds of pigeons. Keir Simmons reports.
Ken Livingston barely disguises his dislike for the pigeons.
They are rats with wings but without the intelligence.
Earlier this year, he ended a 40-year tradition by banning Trafalgar Square's pigeon feed seller, Bernard Rayner, from trading here. Then he backed down following protests, promising to gradually wean the pigeons off their dependency on generous tourists. That weaning period ends today. But campaigners from the Pigeon Alliance will swoop on the square later in protest over the plan they say will mean starvation for hundreds of birds.
People come from right across the world just to see Trafalgar Square's pigeons and to feed them. They don't do anybody any harm. They don't carry disease, contrary to rumours that some people would put about. They don't do any harm at all.
The mayor says the square without the pigeons has far more potential.
People are going to start coming to Trafalgar Square for great cultural and musical events, and it will come alive. And outside those great events, we want buskers, we want decent cafes there.
All the same, if he wants that vision to come true, it's clear he still has a fight on his hands. This is Keir Simmons for London Today.
Travel news now with Russell Holding at Traffic Link.
Thanks very much, Paul. A pretty uneventful start so far on the roads this morning. Busiest road we can find you is here on the Blackwall Tunnel southern approach, starting to look a bit busy here, northbound heading into the tunnel at Falconwood. Let's take a look at the M25. The contraflow is still there. We're looking at junction 17, the turn for Maple Cross. Traffic coping perfectly well with that at the moment. And also you'll find some roadworks here on Victoria Embankment, where it's down to one lane southbound at the junction with Northumberland Avenue. Got one problem on the trains. Thameslink and Connex services not currently stopping at London Bridge because of overrunning engineering works. Back to you now in the studio, Paul.
Thanks, Russell. We're back in half an hour more news and travel then. Now look at today's weather.
Today's weather in your region with Spontex Wonder Window Cloth for a Spontextra clear view.
Well, a chilly but reasonably bright start, and it should stay dry this morning, although the cloud will begin to build up as the morning goes on. And by this afternoon, there'll be the odd shower around. The top temperature today, 13 Celsius, 55 Fahrenheit, feeling quite breezy as well.
Welcome back to this special edition of the News Hour, coming to you from my hometown of Oldham, where I'm sad to report there was yet more racially fuelled violence at the weekend. This following the shocking attack on 76-year-old Walter Chamberlain last week, an attack which shocked the nation. Well, for the past 4 days, we've had teams up here in Oldham trying to find out what it's like to live on both sides of the community and get some understanding of that. We'll be talking to a Bangladeshi family a little bit later on, but first the English family we've been meeting. That's Julie Hodkinson and her partner Ken. They have 2 children and they live in the Westwood area of the town. That's a predominantly Bangladeshi area, and here's what they have to say about life for them.
For the 10 years, the community used to be a good community. I mean, we always get on, and that one of those areas because it was all whites living on this area. when one white moves out, they always put an Asian family in. They do not put a white family in. I've never seen a white family being put in any of these houses in the last 10 years. We're not racist, and we haven't brought the kids up to be racist neither.
Yeah, well, I drive, I deliver in both areas. I mean, I never see anything. I never get anything against me.
He delivers with Asians, and I work with him, but we don't.
I disagree with you sometimes, don't I?
Well, yeah, you do.
I turned around and said they've all got British birth certificates, so they're British.
Yeah.
Julie and Ken, as you can see, Julie joins me now live. Thanks very much, Dee, for being with us, Julie. First of all, your reaction to events this weekend, which went on very, very close to your home. How do you feel about that?
Terrible.
Frightening?
Yeah. Yeah, very frightening.
What's your impression of what's happened to this town over the last few years?
It's just gone really downhill. There's nothing for the children to do. If there was, they'd most probably get together and they're not mixing or anything. I mean, you know, it's just awful, just terrible. And
living in that area of Westwood, which is a predominantly Bangladeshi area, what are your feelings?
To be honest, it's not too bad really. I mean, like I say, they don't mix, and if they had somewhere to go, both parties, you know, the whites and the English, I think they might get on a bit better, but there's nothing for them to do. They're just on their own, and they just stay on their own, and we stay on our own, and it's not fair.
Do you sense tension?
Yeah, yeah. Not against the young ones, the older ones, yes, but the little ones, no, because my little one does play with Asian families, you know, but it's just the bigger ones, really.
And when you hear reports of these attacks, what are your thoughts? I mean, are you scared by this?
No, well, yes and no, really, because it was awful of that man, that elderly man. It was really terrible, that. It was disgusting. But it could be any one of us, and it doesn't have to be Asian, it doesn't have to be white, it could be any of us, and who gets attacked. You know, it's just unfortunate that that old man was there at the time. OK, Julie, for the time being, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you. Kate, it's important for people to understand that although this has been reported as an increase in attacks by Asians on whites, and that is true, that has happened, 60% of the racial incidents in this town are Asian attacks on whites. It's not as simple as that. There have been white attacks on Asians, and there have been instances of Asians fighting other Asians. And it's not just about race. This is also about turf wars. It's about fights for territory. It's about the theft of mobile phones. It's also, to some extent, about drugs. And as I said earlier, many people in this town believe that the problems of Oldham are symptomatic of problems up and down the country. We'll be hearing more from both sides later in the programme. Meantime, back to you.
Thanks, John. Complicated problem. I guess it doesn't make it any easier for those going through it, does it? Let's bring you up to date now with the news hour here on GMTV. This morning's headlines are that police say they're prepared to use rubber bullets to prevent a repeat of last year's violent May Day protests in London tomorrow. William Hague's coming under increasing pressure for his handling of the Tory MP accused of racist remarks. Sinn Féin Minister Martin McGuinness is expected to finally admit he was a senior IRA commander in Londonderry on Bloody Sunday. 18 minutes past 6. Now, President George W. Bush celebrates his 100th day in office today with a slap-up lunch at the White House, to which the entire US House and Senate have been invited. But the celebrations have been overshadowed by his 19-year-old daughter, Jenna, being charged with underage drinking. It's just the latest embarrassing incident in a very eventful 100 days in office, as Dave Mason reports.
President Bush has stamped his mark both at home and abroad, drawing the sort of attention that hasn't made him many friends on the international stage. So far, he's promised to forge ahead with plans for a missile defense system, called off talks with North Korea about its missiles, bombed Iraq, expelled 50 Russian spies, and fallen into a foreign policy crisis with China over the downing of a US spy plane. The man who 5 months ago couldn't name the leader of Pakistan also rejected international efforts to reduce global warming, with Greenpeace dubbing him the toxic Texan. Only last week, Bush upset China again by authorising arms sales to Taiwan. Back home, as he marks 100 days in office, the president faces his first domestic crisis with daughter Jenna's underage drinking, but he's on course to secure huge tax cuts and push ahead with education reforms. He's made it clear he's putting the economy ahead of the environment, and that could be paying off for him, with one poll giving Bush a 62% approval rating better than the 57% he had when elected.
Much better. A very eventful 100 days. James Rubin, the former US State Department spokesman, joins us now, watching those 100 days with interest, I'm sure. I mean, he does seem to have made, in that 100 days, a big impact, certainly in terms of popularity.
Well, internationally, I think I've been struck by how unpopular he is. You know, the people around President Bush were thought of as very competent, experienced officials. But as your report indicates, when it came to things like dealing with North Korea or dealing with Russia or dealing with China or bombing Iraq or pulling out of the International Treaty on Environment, these things were done with very little consultation with our allies, and I'm stunned at how quickly he's lost his international popularity.
I guess I wouldn't expect you to be in support of him, but for somebody who perhaps we thought might be rather ineffectual in terms of foreign terms, he didn't seem to have that much interest or grasp, certainly. That was the image that was portrayed before he was elected. As you mentioned, all those things he's done in terms of foreign affairs, he's taken a lot of action, hasn't he?
Well, I agree. I think people misunderstood his absence of travel as an absence of interest in this subject. This president made, unlike President Clinton, a decision very early on to have one of his first 4 weeks in office be dedicated to foreign policy. So I think he's going to play an important role on foreign policy. Sometimes that might be good and sometimes that might be bad, but I think he is more committed to that as part and parcel of his early presidency than President Clinton was, for sure.
And I guess it's not about a popularity contest across the world, is it, being president? I mean, maybe he feels that he's taking the best measures in terms of taking America forward. Interesting you say that he's acted without advice, because I think the impression that is often that the president isn't really running the country. He's got lots of advisors behind him, and they are the people really taking the reins and taking control. But you don't think so in this case?
Well, I think in this case, President Bush does have a strong team of advisors. His vice president is very experienced in this matter. What I was struck by is that despite their experience, their long experience in these matters and the respect with which they're held abroad, how quickly they have undermined that support through these series of unilateral actions taken with very little consultation that are highly unpopular around the world. But look, President Bush was elected in a very controversial election, and I think to his credit, he's managed in 100 days to establish pretty clearly that he's in charge, that he's going to pursue the agenda that he campaigned on. It's quite a conservative agenda, but that he's going to pursue it nonetheless.
Marks out of 10? So far?
Well, I don't know. For style, I think he gets pretty high marks. For substance, lower.
Okay, all right. James Rubin, thank you very much for speaking to us this morning. Thanks very much indeed. Now, as we've been saying, we're having a special broadcast this morning. John Stapleton is in Oldham for us all morning, reflecting on the events of the weekend and the situation. How is it this morning, John?
Well, it's in certain areas of the town, Kate, one has to say there is a degree of tension. There was more racially fueled violence at the weekend, as you may have heard. That was before and after the football match between Oldham Athletic and Stoke City, and it was fueled initially by some supporters of Stoke City, who I have to say sadly have a reputation for racial abuse up and down the country. That resulted in police injuries. It resulted in 2 petrol bombs being thrown, damage to property, and great concern, because all of this, of course, follows on the attack on 76-year-old war veteran Walter Chamberlain, which shocked the nation last week. We've been in the town for the last 4 days. We've been finding out what it's like to live in both sections of the community, in the key areas of Westwood and Glodwick, which is where I'm standing now. A little bit earlier we talked to an English family. Let's now talk to a family with Bangladeshi origins. They live in the Westwood area, and Badrul is the father of the family. He's married and he has 3 children, and this is a bit of what he has to say.
Now a lot of people are very wary to go outside now. Before, you could just go out and do whatever you want to. But now, because, like, for example, yesterday, I'm a bit scared to go work tomorrow.
99.9% of our community people want to live in harmony. They want peace.
I don't understand what they're trying to do, the National Front. But young kids, what do they know? You know, like young kids, you know, it's frightening for them because they don't know what's happening. It's a language barrier, obviously with the older people, but younger...
And the lifestyle, you know, you can say the
lifestyle.
Our
lifestyle is different as well, because of our religion and everything is different.
Well, as you can see, Badrul joins me now. Badrul, thanks very much, Dee, for being with us. Your feelings this weekend when all that trouble was going on not too far from your home?
Yeah, not too far from my home. That was really bad, you know. I was in the Charlton at that time, and when the National Front riot came through our areas, you know, our children, our kids, women, they start crying, you know. I was, even myself, I was so frightened that time, you know, and it was terrible, you know, that time.
It was indeed. Now, there have been an increase, as you know, in the number or recorded number of incidents of Asians attacking whites. Why do you think that is? Why are these young lads, albeit a tiny minority, why are they behaving in that way?
Yeah, there is a little, you know, tiny minority, you know, the youths, you know, they're doing it. Because this, my point of view is because they're Muslim, but they're not practicing Muslim, you know. Because that's why, you know, they are doing it, because they're too much into drug takings, you know, and, you know, doing bad things. That's why, you know, they can't control themselves.
Do you think, although this is officially denied by all of the authorities, do you think there are no-go areas in this town? There are areas where whites fear to go, there are areas where Asians fear to go?
I don't think so at all, because hundreds of thousands of cars every day rolling through our areas, you know. Yeah. Nobody smashed the car. And we didn't say that this is a no-go area. Our mosque didn't say that, announce this is a no-go area. Nobody said that this is a no-go area. Only the police chief and the media saying that this is the no-go area. We didn't announce that this is the no-go area.
Yeah. Just very briefly, we'll bring in Kuldeep. Kuldeep, Chana is one of our researchers. You've been up in this town for 4 days. You are Asian yourself, obviously, but you've not been to Oldham before. What are your impressions of what you've seen and heard here?
My impressions are that it's no different from London. You know, people interact from all races. There's no problem at all, really, people interacting. There is this feeling that the Asian community feel that they can't report their incidents to the police because they're not being heard. So they feel that the statistics don't actually represent what's actually happening, and Asian attacks happen every single day, but they're just not being reported.
That's a very interesting point, Kate, back in London, although we have had these headlines, which are perfectly true, saying there's been an increase in the number of attacks by Asians on whites. That is absolutely true. They represent 60% of the recorded racial incidents in this town. Many Asian people feel that those statistics don't tell the whole story, that they get attacked all the time, but as Kuldeep was just saying, they don't report those incidents because they're fed up of doing so. That it's been going on for years. And it also has to be said, as I've said before, there are some instances of Asians attacking other Asians, conflict between Pakistani and Bangladeshi communities. Right now, I'm in a predominantly Pakistani area. Badrul lives in a predominantly Bangladeshi area, and there has been a degree of tension between those two communities. But it's a situation the authorities here are very concerned about, but are confident they can keep the lid on, given the right amount of time and dedication. More from them a little bit later on. We'll be talking to the man in charge of racial relations here, and indeed some of the local councillors representing different sections of this community. Meantime, Kate, back to you.
John, thanks very much indeed. Very complicated and sad situation there in Oldham. The time now at 6:27. High time, I think, to cross the water and get the very latest happenings in Tinseltown. Good morning to Jackie Brambles. What's happening in Hollywood, Jackie?
Hi, good morning there. Well, the big news here, movie-wise, is that animated film is set to be one of the biggest summer blockbusters. We're talking about Shrek, S-H-R-E-K. It's the name of the lead character in DreamWorks' latest camp. Shrek is a Scottish ogre voiced by Mike Myers. The heroine princess is voiced by Cameron Diaz. And Eddie Murphy provides much of the humour. The animation is absolutely incredible, unlike anything you've seen before. If you liked Ants and Toy Story, you'll be absolutely bowled over by this. And we have an exclusive clip of that movie here for you on GMTV this morning.
I guess you don't entertain much, do you?
I like my privacy.
You know, I do, too. That's another thing we have in common. Like, I hate it when you got somebody in your face, you trying to give them a hint, and they won't leave. And then there's that big, awkward silence, you know. Can I stay with you?
What?
Can I stay with you, please?
Of course.
Really?
No.
Please, I don't want to go back there. You don't know what it's like to be considered a freak. Well, maybe you do, but that's why we got to stick together.
Extraordinary clarity, isn't it, on that animation? That looks very exciting. Looks pretty good.
Absolutely brilliant film, and it's one of those ones, Kate, where it's not only is it good for the kids, but there's a sort of a lot of tongue-in-cheek humour in there for the adults as well, so I'd highly recommend that one.
Yeah, you can take your nieces and nephews along and have a laugh yourself. They're always good fun. Now, some sad news now. The rock music has been given, the world of rock music anyway, has been given some pretty bad news this weekend, hasn't it?
Yeah, we've been taking a battering lately in the rock world. Joey Ramone died, unfortunately, a couple of weeks ago, and today confirmation on Van Halen's website that they're Their leader, Eddie Van Halen, has in fact got cancer. There have been rumours swirling around the state of his health for about the past 12 months or so. But just today, the 46-year-old leader of the band confirmed that he has got cancer. He says that he has already had treatment, and so far he's feeling very optimistic and thinks that he will be cancer-free in the future. He didn't specify what type of cancer he's got, although he did say he's been seeing neck and throat specialists. So that would lead you to believe it's something in that area. But we wish him all the very best.
Absolutely, fingers crossed for him. We'll be sending him our very best wishes. Let's hope that goes well. Now, on a happier note, there's been a lovely, lavish premiere, Hollywood style, of the much-awaited sequel, The Mummy Returns. Did you go along?
I did indeed, and I have to say I've been to quite a few lavish premieres in my time. This is the first one where there were live camels on the red carpet, amazingly well behaved, and they were there to herald all the stars of the brand new film The Mummy Returns. Of course, this is the sequel to the film that came out a couple of years ago. All the stars turned out. The main star, of course, is Brendan Fraser. He plays the hero, and we managed to get a word with him on the red carpet about this new film.
I think we've been successful in taking what people liked about the first one, maybe sort of putting some putty in the holes in the first film, and we've learned a lot from it, and we'll give them what they like the second time around.
Looks good. We'll have to wait and see when that one comes out over here. Thanks very much indeed, Jackie, for bringing us up to date on all that gossip. The time is now 6:31. We've got the weather coming up for you, and of course more from John in Oldham this morning. See you in a moment.
Due to weight restrictions and weather conditions, we can't take a full load this evening.
I want to see it.
Unfortunately, they're not allowing everyone to travel.
No, but I want to see it.
Well, unfortunately, you can't get on board that aircraft. It'd be too dangerous.
This is disastrous.
Airline, tonight 8:30 ITV.
Calling all brain cells.
TV undemanding, then grab control of the action. 5 BAFTA nominations. You choose the winner. Vote for your favorite TV program. The BAFTA TV Awards. GMTV starting Friday.
You come anywhere near me, and I'll nick you right now.
All right, I used our relationship. So did you.
You've got a nerve, Jamie.
I need one dealing with you, kid. I've known some scary women, but you're the first one who's ever pulled a weapon on me. Quite a turn on, actually.
The Bill, Tuesday at 8 ITV.
GMTV weather with Piriton, a treatment for family allergies.
Good morning. Well, as you can see, some clear skies across the country, so some areas waking up to some sunshine. However, you can also see some heavy downpours across the north and west, also across the far north of Scotland. And where you are seeing those showers this morning, I'm afraid you are going to be stuck with them. And we've also got some mist patches to be aware of as well. I think they'll start to fade away as we progress through the morning, and that will leave behind pretty much a sunny picture for many parts of the country. Though, as I said, where you've seen the showers this morning, you will have them for the remainder of today. It will turn increasingly cloudy too across the far south and east. We are seeing a system moving into that area. It will be moving across us during the course of tomorrow. And if we take a look at the temperatures, well, quite a keen northerly wind just pegging back those temperatures, but not feeling too bad if you manage to find a nice sheltered spot in the sunshine. Could well see highs anywhere between 11 and 13 degrees. That's the mid-50s in terms of Fahrenheit. Now, as we move into the overnight picture, still we're seeing quite a cloudy scene across the far south and east, so too across the far north and west. In between those clear skies leading to a light frost. I don't think it'll cause too many problems, and temperatures remaining above freezing. Now, let's zoom into where we think the problem areas are going to be during the course of tomorrow. It's a bit hit and miss how far north the system's going to come, but it's going to be very, very windy and quite dreary and wet as well. Here's your summary. Phone GMTV's weather call on 09063 66 60 60 for more detailed information about the weather in your area for today and the week ahead.
It's 34 minutes past 6. You're watching a special edition of the News Hour, coming to you in part at least from my hometown of Oldham. Back here in just a minute. Meantime, over to you, Kate.
Thanks very much indeed. Yes, I'm Kate Garraway in London for you with the news hour this morning. And coming up in the next half hour, we'll be meeting the couple who thought they'd won £3 million despite losing their lottery ticket, only to be disappointed after an agonising 6-week wait, poor things. But now let's take you back to John Stapleton in Oldham for us this morning. John, what's the position there?
Yes, well, a degree of tension, as you can well imagine, Kate, following the racially fuelled troubles that we had here over the weekend, but everyone very anxious to keep this in context, saying that the problems here are in many ways typical of problems up and down the country. I'm in the Glodic area, predominantly Pakistani area of Oldham right now. Behind me, as you can see, a recently constructed mosque reflecting the multiracial society in which we live. Over here, some traditional Lancashire housing I remember so well from the days when I lived here, built at a time when this town had a booming cotton industry. 150 mills here at one time, not a single one of them operating anymore. And over here, new housing, perhaps typifying the economic regeneration that's gone on in Oldham. Great efforts by the local council and central government as well to bring the economy back on course. But there are problems, there are tensions, and we'll be talking about those in a little while later when we come back and we talk to the man responsible for race relations here in this community and members of different sections of the community. Meantime, back to you, Kate.
Thanks, John. Look forward to hearing you put us in the picture on that one. But now at 6:35, let's bring you some other news of the morning. And police in London say they are prepared to use rubber bullets for the first time during their biggest ever peacetime operation. More than 6,000 officers will attempt to stop anti-capitalist protesters causing chaos on May Day, which of course is tomorrow. Now, the shopping area of Oxford Street is thought to be one of the main targets, and our correspondent Alan Fisher is down there for us this morning. Alan, why is it such a big operation this time?
Good morning, Kate. Well, the police in London are determined to avoid a repeat of the scenes that we saw last year. In fact, many statues, like the one of Winston Churchill in Parliament Square, have been boarded up. We remember that was defaced last year in a protest that started initially as a guerrilla gardening operation in Parliament Square, with people trying to re-turf the streets, reclaim the streets is what they called it. But then it exploded into violence, with protesters fighting pitched battles with police all the way along Whitehall up to Trafalgar Square, with businesses being robbed and looted, and what we saw was millions and millions of pounds worth of damage. Now, the police have made it very clear that tomorrow there will be a zero tolerance policy. They will not allow anyone to do any graffiti, cause any minor offence, because then they'll be arrested. And as an absolute last resort, the police say that if the riot gets out of hand and they feel they're in danger of being overwhelmed, then they will use rubber bullets. But there will be 6,000 police officers on duty in the capital tomorrow, from the Met Police, the City of London Police and British Transport Police, and the police hope that that will be enough to make sure that there is no repeat of last year's violence.
Alan, thanks very much for putting us in a picture on that. Thank you very much indeed. Now let's bring you all the other news stories of the morning. Anne Davis is with us now. Hi there, Anne.
Hi, Kate, thanks. Good morning to you. William Hague has been warned that his weak and pathetic handling of the race issue will continue to haunt him. Well, those sharp words come from senior Tory peer Lord Taylor of Warwick. He's condemning Mr Hague for refusing to expel the MP John Townend of his remarks about the British becoming a mongrel race. Well, we're joined from Westminster by Sue Jameson. Sue, good morning to you. Is Mr Hague going to be able to weather this storm, do you think?
Well, the stakes are certainly getting higher, because Lord Taylor now appears to be saying it's him or me, and saying that he might actually quit the party unless John Townend is expelled. And he's likened William Hague's handling of the crisis so far to that of a timid referee who is belatedly showing a yellow card to a player who's already committed numerous offences. And he's also making it clear that this is no longer just a race row, but it's actually a row about William Hague's leadership.
His weak leadership is damaging the party. Leadership is about action, not just rhetoric. He's very good at cracking jokes in Parliament, and you know, that's very clever and so forth, but he's required now to act, and that's what he's not doing, because the race issue will come back to haunt him time and time again. And as a black man in the Conservative Party, I can't just stand there and say nothing, I'm afraid.
John Townend, meanwhile, is unrepentant. He feels he's got nothing to lose because he's retiring anyway. But central office at Tory party headquarters is certainly going to be talking about it again this morning.
No doubt they will. Sue, for now, thanks very much indeed. Protests are expected to continue at a domestic landfill site in Devon, where thousands of sheep carcasses are being buried. There have been 3 arrests as demonstrators try to stop lorry-loads of animals being dumped at the site near Great Torrington. They fear that local water supplies could well be polluted. And Nelson Mandela has paid tribute to Britain for its role in ending apartheid in South Africa. He addressed thousands at a special concert in London to say thank you for its years of support against the regime. 20,000 people attended the event in Trafalgar Square. The star-studded lineup included The Cause, you've just seen, Mel B and R.E.M. Time 6 to 9, that's it from me this morning. News, weather and travel now, wherever you are.
Good morning, I'm Paul Green. The headlines in London today. Peace talks aimed at averting this week's planned tube strike will take place later today as the RMT union meets London Underground at the conciliation service ACAS. LU had threatened legal action against the RMT if it didn't call off the 24-hour strike over jobs and security, which is due to start at 8 p.m. on May the 2nd. But the two sides have agreed to meet and use their best endeavours to resolve the dispute. Westminster Council has been finalising its contingency plans ahead of tomorrow's May Day protests. Last year's demonstrations caused £500,000 worth of damage. This time, the council's drawn up a list of safety rules which have been distributed to businesses across the borough. It's also making sure potentially dangerous objects such as scaffolding and skips are removed from the streets.
Most of the protest appears to be peaceful, and as I say, we have that every day here. But there is a hardcore who appear to be out for trouble. So the main thing is we're taking reasonable precautions to minimise any damage that could be done. And also we've got staff on standby to clear up straight away if necessary.
Police in Wandsworth are appealing for information as to the whereabouts of a teenage boy. David Oliver went missing from his grandparents' house in Battersea last Saturday, aged 16. He has a mental age significantly younger and is described as being easily led. Anyone with information is being urged to call Wandsworth Police on 0208 672 9922, 0208 672 9922. Feeding the pigeons in Trafalgar Square ends today as Mayor Livingston's controversial ban comes into force. However, campaigners are set to descend on the square in protest over the plan they say will mean the starvation of hundreds of pigeons. Keir Simmons reports.
Ken Livingston barely disguises his dislike for the pigeons.
They are rats with wings but without the intelligence.
Earlier this year, he ended a 40-year tradition by banning Trafalgar Square's pigeon feed seller, Bernard Rayner, from trading here. Then he backed down following protests, promising to gradually wean the pigeons off their dependency on generous tourists. That weaning period ends today. But campaigners from the Pigeon Alliance will swoop on the square later in protest over the plan they say will mean starvation for hundreds of birds.
People come from right across the world just to see Trafalgar Square's pigeons and to feed them. They don't do anybody any harm. They don't carry disease, contrary to rumours that some people would put about. They don't do any harm at all.
The mayor says the square without the pigeons has far more potential.
People are going to start coming to Trafalgar Square for great cultural and musical events, and it will come alive. And outside those great events, we want buskers, we want decent cafes there.
All the same, if he wants that vision to come true, it's clear he still has a fight on his hands. This is Keir Simmons for London Today.
Time for the travel news now with Louise Perry at Traffic Link. Sorry, Russell
Right,
Holding.
Thanks very much, Paul. Some bad news on the tubes. We just heard there's no service on the Jubilee line in the Stratford area at the moment between Stratford and Canary Wharf, but it's good news heading into and out of London Bridge. They've finished the overrunning engineering works and train services into and out of London Bridge are now running fine. To the roads then, let's take a look here at the Blackwall Tunnel southern approach. The tidal flow has now gone in, but the queues are back to Woolwich. And we showed you the M25 half an hour ago, not looking too bad. It's beginning to build now, getting heavy anti-clockwise here at junction 17 as the turn for Maple Cross as you head through the Contraflow. Back to you now in the studio, Paul.
Thanks so much, Russell. That's it for now. We're back at 7:05. More news and travel then. Now a look at today's weather.
Today's weather in your region with Spontex Wonder Window Cloth for a Spontextra clear view.
Well, a cold but reasonably bright start, and it should stay dry, although the cloud will build up during the morning with outbreaks of showery rain later. Top temperature today, 13 Celsius, 55 Fahrenheit.
Welcome back to this special edition of the News Hour, coming to you in part at least from my hometown of Oldham, where I'm sad to report we had more racially fuelled violence at the weekend. It happened before and after the football match between Oldham Athletic and Stoke City. 2 petrol bombs were thrown, 14 arrests were made, 3 police officers were slightly injured, and there was damage to both cars and property. All this, of course, following the attack on a 76-year-old war veteran, Walter Chamberlain, which shocked the nation last week. Well, I'm joined now by Chris Hillier, who's Deputy Leader of Oldham Council and the official spokesman on race relations. Chris, thanks very much indeed for being with us. First of all, your reaction to the events of the weekend.
Well, the Council deplores the violence of the weekend. We're seeking an early meeting with senior police officers of Greater Manchester Police in order to review what went on and the violence that occurred. And the council leader will be writing to the Chief Constable today to try to fix that up as soon as possible.
You've got headlines in this town because amongst the numbers of recorded racial incidents, we see that 60% of those incidents seem to be attacks by Asians on whites. Why, Chris, do you think that's happening?
I think there is a rising racial tension, there's no question about that, and even worse, there's a perception of disorder. But the statistics aren't entirely helpful. If you look at the statistics for violent crime, 50-50 is the proportion. But nonetheless, there's no question about it, we have a serious problem. Once upon a time in Oldham, there was a serious problem of attacks by whites on Asians. Now the problem is that we're getting attacks in both directions, and I'm no more happy about that.
And indeed, so in some cases, one community, Asians attacking Pakistanis, and vice versa.
That's correct, but don't forget that Oldham is no different from many towns in the north of England, and the causes of this kind of disorder, this kind of tension, lie in many areas, including multiple deprivation. If you look at Bradford, if you look at Leeds, you get very similar pictures.
Yeah, Westwood in particular, I think, is in the top 1% of socially deprived areas in the UK. And that fundamentally, in your view, is one of the root causes.
Three of the wards, Westwood, Alexandra and Worneth, are in that bottom 1% of deprivation, yes.
How do you, as a local councillor, then feel about the British National Party, I have to say, jumping on the bandwagon and declaring they'll run two candidates in the general elections here, and the National Front threatening, anyway, to march through this town next weekend?
These far-right groups will always batten on people's pain and distress, and it was almost no surprise to see them as soon as the events in Oldham became nationally covered.
But distressing for you.
But distressing for us, and we must look into the involvement of the National Front in Saturday's events, which ostensibly look like a football matter, but in fact I'm sure we'll find the front behind some of those activities.
OK, we wish you well. Thanks very much, Steve, for talking to us. Chris, more from me later, and I'll be talking to other members, other sections of the community, as we'll be doing throughout this morning's programme. Meantime, back to you, Kate.
John, thanks very much indeed. More from John later, as he said, but I've got a question for you now. Do you suffer from a phobia? Fear of heights, maybe? Flying, spiders, getting up early in the morning? I don't know, that one just came to mind, I can't think why. Well, help is at hand if you do have a phobia. Welcome to the House of Fear. Sounds all very scary, doesn't it? But 1 in 4 of us, can you believe that, suffer from some form of phobia? I was really shocked when I read that this morning. And all this week, GMTV is going to be tackling some of the most common phobias we'll have in our special House of Fear feature. And the brave soul who'll be holding the hands of our phobics is the lovely Penny Smith. Good morning to you, Penny. Hello, are you there?
Good morning, Kate. Yes, I am. Welcome to the House of Fear. I feel like I should put on Boris Karloff voice at that point. Yes, I was staggered to discover that 1 in 4 of us suffers from some kind of phobia. I know I was scared of flying, so I suppose it's not that surprising, really. But there are also people who are scared of very odd things. We have people who are scared of dolls, for example, although this one does look quite scary, being a little on the bald side. People who are scared of the colour yellow, which must make life very difficult. People who are frightened about the number 8, which must make life difficult if you live at number 8. People scared of mirrors, and I can understand that, having seen myself this morning. Very common phobia, I think I might actually be partial to. And a very odd one here about the fact that people are scared of being tickled with feathers. Now, we had our 4 volunteers who arrived yesterday. They are Corinna, who's scared of spiders, and Suzanne, who's scared of balloons, not just balloons, but balloons being popped. Gillian is claustrophobic. and Russell is an acrophobic. Now, in just 1 week, we are going to cure them. I say we, it's not really me. We have got Dr. Hilary Jones on hand. He's going to be talking about the physical reactions of phobia. We've got Jo Marsden, who's a spider expert. She's brought a lovely little tarantula along with her. Judith White is an aromatherapist. She's going to be teaching people how to relax. And we have life coach Pete Cohen, and it all starts in an hour, so join us then.
Ooh, sounds very, very exciting. A little bit scary. We'll look forward to that, Penny. Thanks very much indeed. House of Fear, eh? Well, we'll be returning to the House of Fear a little bit later, but let's return now to Oldham and John Stapleton, who's been bringing us reports on the situation there all morning. Good morning again, John.
Good morning to you, Kate. I'm joined by three local councillors now reflecting different sections of the community. We've got Pete Dean, Labour councillor, Abdul Jabbour, who is of Bangladeshi origin, and Abdul Qayyum, who is of Pakistani origin. Let me kick off with you, Peter. Your reaction to the sad scenes we saw on the streets of Oldham this weekend?
Well, extremely distressing, and what I would say is that I would hope that the community actually stays calm throughout these problems and these troubles. I think that we can move forward, certainly as a town, and the various communities of Oldham have to come together, they have to work together, and they have to live together.
Yeah, they have indeed, but they haven't been doing so in certain pockets of the town. We don't want to overstate this. It's certain areas where there's a problem, Abdul Jabbour. Why do you think Asian youths are behaving in this way, increasingly attacking white people?
Well, I think it's a very small minority who are doing that, and we condemn that, and obviously it is a very serious problem for us, and it's damaging the image of the town, and we understand that. But you know, at a time like this, we need, the Oldham community need to unite together, and we need to work with the police to find the attackers. And
but what I'm interested in is, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but what I'm interested in is that Asian people, in my mind, and in my experience living in this town, are peace-loving people, they're hard-working people. What's changed? Why are these kids behaving like this?
Well, they are. The vast majority of the Asian people are peace-loving and living in harmony. Unfortunately, there are a very small number who have been engaged in this violence, and we've got to try to resolve this. But you know, the thing is, right, unfortunately, it's been blown all out of proportion. I think everybody recognizes that we've got a serious problem in our hand, but, you know, overstating it doesn't actually help.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more, but it has to be said, nevertheless, Abdul Qayyum, that, you know, in addition to Asians' attacks on white, and let's not forget lots of white attacks on Asians too, over a long number of years, we've now got conflict between your two communities, between your Pakistani community and the Bangladeshi community, albeit in small pockets.
Well, I don't believe that there's any conflict between the Pakistani and Bangladeshi community. We have always lived together as a community, and we will continue to live together as a Pakistani and Bangladeshi community. We have no problem whatsoever. There's all going to be a tiny minority of element within the youth, whether they're English youth, Bangladeshi or Pakistani, which have territorial problem, and which, you know, they do cause some problem, but I don't think so there's any friction between the communities.
Very briefly, how do you all feel about the BNF putting up candidates in the general election here and the National Front threatening to march to this town? Peter first.
Well, I think that's pretty regrettable. I would hope that, I mean, the situation as it is, and they are putting up candidates, one would hope that they behave reasonably and sensibly, and again we would ask people to express their views in a very democratic way.
Abdul, do you think, given what's going on, you can keep a lid on this?
I think we can, but I am concerned about the provocation that we will receive over the next few weeks on up to the election from the BNP. But I would ask everybody to unite behind the people of Oldham to resolve this problem. But can I just say this to you, that I'm worried about the young people. This is a very important time for them because it's run up to the exams, and what we should be doing, right, is helping them, supporting them. And this shouldn't be a distraction, right? We should leave that to the police to deal with.
Okay, very last word for you.
Well, I think it's up to BNP who they want to put up, but it's the judgment at the end of the day is the decision made by the people of Oldham, and I'm sure they will demonstrate that they don't support BNP in Oldham, and there's no place for BNP in Oldham.
Okay, we'll see how they react indeed, as we'll be talking to families from different sections of the community throughout this morning's programme. But for the meantime, Kate, back to you in London.
Thanks very much indeed, John. More from John, as you said, throughout the morning. The time now is 6:53, and here's a very sad story. I'm sure your heart's going to go out to the next couple we're speaking to, because last September, Martin and Kay Tott did the lottery as usual, as so many of us do. And for one reason or another, they forgot to check if their numbers had come up. We often do that, don't we? But it's so sad in this case, because if they had, their dreams would have come true to the tune of a whopping £3 million. You'll see if you read the Mirror of the story, there's part of their story there. In today's Mirror, it says that their dreams are in tatters because they lost the opportunity of claiming this £3.5 million because the lottery finally said no ticket, no money. And if that isn't bad enough, they were kept waiting for more than 6 weeks before finally being told that they wouldn't actually get the cash, whilst Camelot decided whether they could or couldn't give it to them. Very sad situation. As you see, Kay and Martin are here with us. Kay, I mean, you were the one that actually put the numbers down, didn't you, in the first place?
Yes.
How did you feel when you found out that, not even getting to the point of not having the money, but that you'd lost the ticket?
I felt gutted, absolutely gutted. I felt sick inside, you know, and I just...
No, I can see you're very, very tearful. Oh, poor Kay. Well, let's check to Martin. Give her a squeeze, because I can't get over there. I'm all wired up over here, but you give her a squeeze, Martin. Martin, talk me through what happened. You bought the ticket as usual.
Yeah,
How come you didn't check it in the
we buy it in £10 blocks, and Kay buys it from the same store every week. So we know that the ticket numbers verbatim. And what happened was we saw this advert at the 11th hour on telly saying there's a winner in Hertfordshire, in Watford, Hemel or St Albans. And I said, well, you know, let's watch the article. And then we scrolled through teletext and got down to our numbers flashed up on the 6th of September.
For a second, your heart leapt.
Well, Kay screamed, and then I went, oh my God, we're not going to have the ticket anymore. But we rang the Camelot hotline anyway, and they said there is a small rule about 30 days where you have to come forward with lost tickets within 30 days and then wait 180 days before you can claim the prize legally.
Right, so they didn't dispute then that you had legally won in terms of their rules?
No, and also we said at the start we've probably thrown the ticket away, but I can tell you the machine we picked, I can tell you what time it was, that there'll be a ticket before that of £10 for 5 weeks. So I told them a lot, and they sent a security officer around the next day to check our story out. And instead of saying there is this rule, they proved in 3 days that they were 101% sure it was.
So they were sure that you were right, but they still ultimately didn't give you
Yeah.
the money. Well, we have a representative of Camelot on the line now for us in Westminster. Sue Slipman is there. Sue, why did you decide that they couldn't have their £3.5 million in the end?
Well, we had over 115 claims for this particular prize, so it took some time to do the investigation. And we said all along that it was highly unlikely we'd be able to pay, because the rules state that you have to claim within the first 30 days after a draw if you haven't got the ticket, and then it's at our discretion to pay. After that time, we have no discretion. But we felt it was right to test that out thoroughly. We thought it was in the best interest of the couple to do that.
The problem is that Kay and Martin have been hanging on. Hobium Kay's at a terrible state here. She's in tears. She's lost a stone in weight. She's so worried about the situation. You know, couldn't you have put them out of their misery earlier if you say it was always going to be no in the end?
Well, we were faced with a very difficult position. We too felt incredibly sorry for the people involved, and we really thought we had to test the rules to see if we'd had discretion, and if we had had that discretion, we would have paid. So we tested it out with our legal advisors, who said no. We then went to the National Lottery Commission. They tested it out, and we went to see if they had any additional discretion over ours, and it took some time for them to test that, and I'm afraid that was conclusive. They had no such discretion. And then the final stage was us considering whether their advice had been robust. And I'm afraid we decided in the end that it was, and that we had to give the bad news.
OK, Sue, we're going to have to leave it there. I know Martin just wants to come back, because we're going to talk about this a little bit later in GMTV today. But Martin, just one last word from you.
They knew within 3 days that we were 101% the lottery winners. Now, if you knew you weren't going to break the rules in the first place, why string us out for 7 weeks and put us through all this torture?
I feel deeply sorry for the amount of time it took, but we would never have broken the rules.
There's no excuse for that amount of time. It's disgusting.
Martin, I do understand that you're really upset.
No, you don't understand, because you put us through hell.
I think we do.
You don't
and
understand, sat there.
But you have
to
understand.
You have no idea.
We cannot...
You've ruined our lives, and you know the truth. The truth is on these tapes.
We cannot break the rules.
Clearly, you're very upset.
Considering it.
Can I just say that, you know, the reason we can't do that...
You just said yourself you cannot break the rules. What were you doing for 7 weeks?
We were testing to see if we had any discretion.
All right, so Martin, you have a chance to further discussion a little.
Can I just say...
Sue, we'll have a chance to speak a little bit later.
I know we will, but I want to say
that
we cannot pay because we cannot
weeks. We've had
open
to
the
sit here and listen to you.
And we would
talked over us for 7 weeks. Now you should listen to us.
OK, Martin, well, you will have a chance to put your points, but no, I understand your clear concern about this. It's terribly frustrating, and Sue as well wants to put her case 2 from Camelot, but we have to leave it there because time is against us. I know it's terribly frustrating. You've been through an enormous amount, both of you. We'll speak to you a little bit later as well.
The proof is in these tapes, and they can't deny that.
Huge, huge problem, but I think we can now, just to end the news hour, return to John for a final goodbye, who's in Oldham for us this morning. John, are you there?
Yes, hi Kate, I'm in Oldham because, as you know, the statistics show there's been an increase in the number of attacks by Asians on whites, but it's not as simple as that, far more complicated, and many people here say the problems here, typical of problems up and down the country. We'll be discussing them throughout this morning's programme. Meantime, from the news hour, from Oldham, bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Lots more to come up in GMTV today, and the weather is next.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered together to join together this man and this woman. Let them now speak, forever hold their peace.
Ian Shaw, Brian Carter, Carl Macy, Dave Freeman, Michael James.
I don't know what all the fuss is about.
Michelle Collins, an ITV drama premiere. Perfect. Tonight at 9.
Oh, Eamon is so lovely, he's so gorgeous. Oh, if I could marry Eamon, I would. I think you have to flirt a little bit. I have to kind of get up at 5 o'clock. I can kind of sympathise a little bit with the presenters from GMTV, but I only have it one morning, so ha-ha!
GMTV weather with Piriton. A treatment for family allergies.
Good morning. Well, clear skies across many parts of the country, but some areas suffering under an area of showers, especially across the northwest of England and the far north of Scotland. We've also got some mist patches to be aware of, but I think those will fizzle out during the course of the morning, leaving behind some sunshine. But as they do so, I think the cloud will increase across the far south and east, across East Anglia and Kent. That's a system that's going to be moving across us during the course of tomorrow. And unfortunately, these areas of showers across the northwest, if you're waking up to them this morning, you're going to be stuck with them through to this afternoon. Temperature-wise, quite a stiff northerly breeze pegging them back just a touch, but find a nice sheltered spot, and temperatures in double figures. You could see highs between 11 and 13 degrees. That's the mid-50s in terms of Fahrenheit. Here's your summary. Phone GMTV's weather call on 09063 66 60 60 for more detailed information about the weather in your area for today and the week ahead.
Welcome to the House of Fear. We've got a frightened foursome, but will they succeed in overcoming their phobias? There you are. It is Monday morning, the 30th of April.
Good morning to you. This is GMTV Today.
Frightened of anything, Fiona? Anything frightens you?
Alarm clocks.
Monday mornings?
Monday mornings.
Mirrors?
Mirrors, yeah.
All sorts of things like that. But on the programme this morning, what we're doing is, you see, we're beginning this week-long attempt to cure 4 people off their phobias.
Yeah, and they really are serious phobias, most of them, and some of them unusual too. Penny Smith, never fear.
One of them.
Penny is,
oh, no.
my goodness,
it's
there
a
she
spider,
is.
it is, yes.
What a huge thing, Penny.
That's not me, Fiona, that's a spider.
Fluffy
That's Shelob, in fact.
It's who?
Shelob. She's a Chilean. Oh, what is she? Oh, she's a Chilean rose. There we go. I've got Jo Marsden. You can't see her, but she's going to be helping some of the phobics a bit later on. One of the phobics is so scared of spiders, it's unbelievable. And by the end of the week, we are going to have her holding Shelob, just as I am. We've got 4 phobics. We're going to cure them by the end of the week, and see us in about 20 minutes.
Lovely. I hope they start with ones much smaller than that, actually, and sort of build up to it.
Well, some people have got some very strange phobias. I think there's someone who's scared of balloons. We met this week. And I used to know a person, I think I've told you this before, who had a phobia of buttons. Just couldn't... I know you've said to me before, usually when they're on women and things like that, but no, he really had a phobia. He couldn't bear looking at buttons, they made him sick. So he'd like a jacket like this, you see, where the buttons are concealed.
Or zips.
Yeah, no, not zips, just buttons.
No,
Anyway.
have zips instead of buttons.
Oh, right, hand
Yes,
zips,
yes.
right, OK. Well, we better
Yes.
zip along because this morning we are concentrating on a major issue. That issue is the racial tension blighting Oldham. You may have heard about it over the weekend. We've sent John Stapleton back to the town of his birth to see whether it really is a community in crisis. Morning, John, is it?
Yeah, yes, Fiona, to some extent it is, but it has to be put in context. There are problems, but there are problems in small pockets of the town, like the Glodick area, where I am now standing. And in a way, this little patch I'm in sums up Oldham. Behind me, a newly constructed mosque, typifying the multiracial society in which we now live. Over here, just past our truck, some of the housing that over the years people lived in when Oldham had a booming cotton industry at one time, 150 mills here now, not a single one of them operating in the cotton business. And over there, new housing, typifying the economic regeneration that's gone on in Oldham. Both local government and central government have done their best to get this community back on its feet. But within these small pockets, there's no doubt about it, there is racial tension. There has been an increase in the number of attacks by Asians on whites. There have been attacks by whites on Asians, and to some extent there have been conflict between the two Bangladeshi and Pakistani communities, representing, along with Indians, about 12% of Oldham's 220,000 people. And over the weekend, sadly, yet more racially fuelled conflict before and after the game between Oldham Athletic and Stoke City. 2 petrol bombs were thrown, 14 people were arrested, 3 police officers were injured, and there was damage to both cars and property. We'll be discussing that and these delicate issues throughout this morning's programme. Meantime, back to you, Fiona.
All right, John, thanks very much indeed. We'll see you later on in the programme. Thanks.
And on the entertainment front this morning, if you were watching BBC One last night, you will have recognised 2 people who are set to make a very, very big impression on lots of celebrities' lives, and here is one of them.
Hello and welcome to Winton Undercover. Now, dogfighting has been banned in this country for many, many years, but still this barbaric practice still continues. Now, in order to expose those involved in this cruel and savage sport, I'm going to try and infiltrate a dogfighting ring in London's East End. Ooh, scary.
Alistair McGuinness, Dale Winton there.
He does a brilliant Richard Madeley.
It's all in the hands.
It's all in the hands.
It's all in the hands.
The laid-back manner. All right, and talking of TV, not last night's TV, tonight's TV, Richard Arnold has done a runner, but if you're ever at a loss, never mind, we've got Paul Ross today, haven't we?
That's very good. Paul, don't know it. Excellent. OK. Right, news update. Let's get that underway. Kate Garraway. Good morning, Kate.
Good morning, Eamon. Good morning to you. Police in London say they're prepared to use rubber bullets for the first time during their biggest ever peacetime operation. More than 6,000 officers will attempt to stop anti-capitalist protesters bringing chaos to the capital on May Day tomorrow. The main shopping area of Oxford Street is thought to be one of the main targets. Well, our correspondent Alan Fisher is there for us this morning. Alan, why is it such a big operation this year?
Good morning, Kate. Well, the police in London are determined to avoid a repeat of the scenes of violence we saw last year. Many statues have been boarded up in preparation for the protests tomorrow. In fact, the one of Winston Churchill in Parliament Square, which was defaced during last year's protest, has already been boarded up. You'll remember last year it was a Reclaim the Streets protest that escalated into violence, and we saw protesters fighting with police along the length of Whitehall all the way up to Trafalgar Square, with businesses being looted, stores being destroyed, and millions of pounds worth of damage being caused.
Do we know what attitude police are taking, certainly in terms of their approach? Is it going to be softly, softly? Are they going to be there in force as well as in numbers?
Well, the police have said that they are determined they will enforce a zero-tolerance policy tomorrow, which means that anyone guilty of even the most minor of offences will be arrested and put into custody. The protesters are working on the model of monopoly, and they're targeting areas that you would normally find a monopoly board. Oxford Street has been selected for a protest at 4 o'clock tomorrow. They believe that thousands of people will be here protesting against anti-capitalism, but more than 6,000 officers on duty. Police are determined that we won't see a repeat of the scenes of last year.
Alan Fisher, thank you very much indeed for putting us in the picture on that one. Now, William Hague has been warned his weak and pathetic handling of the race issue will continue to haunt him. Well, those are the sharp words which come from senior Tory peer Lord Taylor of Warwick. He's condemning Mr Hague for refusing to expel the MP John Townsend for his remarks about the British becoming a mongrel race. We're joined from Westminster by Sue Jameson. Good morning, Sue. Is Mr Hague going to be able to weather this storm?
Well, he's certainly looking a bit windswept, with things not likely to get much better, because Lord Taylor also now appears to be threatening to quit the party if John Townsend is not expelled. And he's likened William Hague's handling of this so far to a timid referee belatedly showing a yellow card to a player who's already committed numerous offences. And he's also making it clear that this is not so much about race now, but about William Hague's leadership.
His weak leadership is damaging the party. Leadership is about action, not just rhetoric. He's very good at cracking jokes in Parliament, and you know, that's very clever and so forth, but he's required now to act, and that's what he's not doing. Because the race issue will come back to haunt him time and time again. And as a black man in the Conservative Party, I can't just stand there and say nothing, I'm afraid.
John Townsend, meanwhile, is remaining defiant, so this is something they'll be talking about at Tory Central Office today.
Sue, thank you very much indeed. Now, protests are expected to continue today at a landfill site in Devon, where the carcasses of slaughtered animals affected by foot-and-mouth disease have been dumped. Jackie Kabler is there for us this morning. Jackie, what's the latest?
Good morning, Kate. Well, there were big protests here over the weekend. 3 people arrested, in fact, and you can see over here quite a big group of protesters have arrived already. There are some more carcasses due here in the next little while. The problem here is that this is a landfill site normally used for domestic waste, and people here are very concerned about the health implications of putting dead animals in here. There's a police presence here. We are expecting a bit of trouble here a bit later on. It's not the only place in the country where there's been trouble over the weekend. Up in Northumbria, protesters stopped 8 lorries getting into a burial site up there when fluid was seen leaking out onto the road. And in Wales, at Welshpool, the carcasses of 1,500 sheep are currently being dug up after blood was seen bubbling up through the ground. It's likely that they're going to be burned instead. Now, 3 cases of foot and mouth over the weekend, all in Cumbria, but there is some good news for farmers up there as well. They're going to be given mini holidays, mini breaks to help them get off their farms for a couple of days. 3-day breaks under a new rest and recuperation scheme which has just been launched. So a bit of good news and a bit of bad news this morning, I'm afraid.
OK, Jackie, thank you for putting us in the picture on that. Now, there are calls this morning for Northern Ireland's Education Minister, Martin McGuinness, to be arrested over his involvement with the IRA. The Sinn Féin MP is finally expected to admit his involvement in the terrorist group. Well, Carl is there for us this morning. Carl Dillon, what's Mr McGuinness likely to admit, and are we surprised?
Good morning, Kate. Well, the funny thing is that although he's likely to admit that he was a senior member of the IRA in Derry at the time of Bloody Sunday, nobody will be in the least bit surprised, because it's been widely known for many years that he held such a position. What is interesting is that he will say so publicly, and he's expected to give details of the IRA's orders and operations on that day, that there were 2 IRA teams, but they were told to keep away from the march. He will also give his definitive response to allegations made by an MI5 agent known as Infliction, who said that Martin McGuinness actually fired the first shots at the British Army. I mean, Mr McGuinness is expected to say that that is absolute rubbish. As you say, the DUP have called for him to be arrested. I don't think that's likely, and his participation in the Bloody Sunday inquiry does give it some added credibility, Kate.
Carl, thank you very much indeed. Nelson Mandela has paid tribute to Britain for its role in ending apartheid in South Africa. He addressed thousands at a special concert in London to say thank you for its years of support against the regime. 20,000 people attended the event in Trafalgar Square. The star-studded lineup included The Cause, Mel B and REM. Time now is 12 minutes past 7. I'll be back with a news update at 7:30. But now let's get the news, weather and travel wherever you are.
Good morning, I'm Paul Green. The headlines in London today. Peace talks aimed at averting this week's planned tube strike will take place later today as the RMT union meets London Underground at the conciliation service ACAS. LU had threatened legal action against the RMT if it didn't call off the 24-hour strike over jobs and security, which is due to start at 8 p.m. on May the 2nd. But the two sides have agreed to meet and to use their best endeavours to resolve the dispute. Westminster Council has been finalising its contingency plans ahead of tomorrow's May Day protests. Last year's demonstrations caused £500,000 worth of damage. This time, the council's drawn up a list of safety rules which have been distributed to businesses across the borough. The feeding of pigeons in Trafalgar Square ends today. Ken Livingstone caused an outcry earlier this year when he ended a 40-year tradition by banning the square's pigeon food seller from plying his trade. Following angry protests, he promised to continue feeding the birds a decreasing amount of food, but that ends today. Campaigners are set to descend on the square in protest over the plan they say will mean the starvation of hundreds of pigeons. Now the travel news with Russell Holding at Traffic Link.
Thanks very much, Paul. Well, we're hoping that industrial action won't happen on London Underground later in the week. At the moment, there are delays on the Jubilee line. That's all because of signal failure at North Greenwich. Now, the road's not looking that bad at the moment. Where we can find a queue is here on the A40. Traffic on the right-hand side of your screen is heading into town at the Greenford flyover, and that will be heavy all the way to the Target roundabout. M4 here at Junction 3 towards Heston, really not looking that bad. Back to you, Paul.
Thanks so much, Russell. We're back in an hour's time. More news and travel then. Now look at today's weather.
Today's weather in your region with Spontex Wonder Window Cloth for a Spontextra clear view.
Well, a chilly but reasonably bright start, as you can see, and it should stay dry, although the cloud will start to build up during the morning with outbreaks of showery rain later on. Top temperature, 13 Celsius, that's 55 Fahrenheit, feeling quite breezy too.
Coming up to 7:15, hello, a very good morning to you. GMTV broadcasting across the country on this Monday morning. We're also broadcasting live from Oldham. John Stapleton is there for us this morning. Your hometown, John, are you surprised by the reports, these race reports of no-go areas in the town now, all these years on?
Eamon, shocked and very dismayed. As you rightly say, I grew up here, I went to school here, I started work on the local paper here, and that was a number of years ago, 30, 40 years ago. Lots of Asian people living here then, in this area actually, in Gloddick and over in the Westwood district, which is near where I went to school. Most of them worked in the mills. I can't say there was integration, there wasn't, but they kept themselves very much to themselves, the Asian people, but there was certainly no hint of any problem. And then it seems that when the cotton industry died, there was at one time 150 mills here. Now there's not a single cotton mill operating as such anymore. When that died, economic degeneration set in. Also, there's been a change in attitude amongst the Asian community, and particularly the young people. Whereas their elders just got on with life, kept themselves to themselves, these youngsters, who, it has to be said, have suffered a lot of racial abuse from some white people, have suffered attacks from some white people, they're saying we're not putting up with this any longer. And that was evident over the weekend when, before and after the football match between Oldham Athletic and Stoke City, the situation was actually charged and problems began as a result of a small minority of Stoke City fans chanting racial abuse. And I have to say, sadly, they've got a notorious reputation for this. As a result of that, Asian youngsters went out onto the streets. 2 petrol bombs were thrown by certain parties, policemen were injured, shops were damaged, pubs were damaged, cars were damaged, 14 people were arrested. The very sort of thing, the last thing Oldham wants to see, particularly after that attack last week on that dear old man, 76-year-old war veteran Walter Chamberlain. Now, during that incident this weekend, our researcher Kuldeep Chana was there. Now, you went out there with your little video camera. Just tell me briefly your thoughts on what you saw and heard there.
Basically, I just saw the Asian community getting together, waiting for the National Front to march through. By the time they heard they were coming through, the police had arrived and created a wall between the National Front and the Asian community.
Scary?
Very, very scary.
Kuldeep, thanks very much indeed. Kuldeep is one of our team who's been up in Oldham for the last 4 days now. We've been living with different sections of the community to try and find out what it's like to be a resident of Oldham in the year 2001. One of the families who we've been talking to is the Hodgkinson family, Julie Hodgkinson and her partner Ken. They've got 2 children and they live in the predominantly Bangladesh area of Westwood, near where I went to school, in the area of the Wornath district of Oldham. They've been there for 10 years, and this is what Julie and her partner Ken have to say about the current situation.
Been here 10 years, the community used to be a good community. I mean, we always get on, and that one of those houses because there's all whites living on this area. When one white moves out, they always put an Asian family in. They do not put a white family in. I've never seen a white family being put in any of these houses in the last 10 years. We're not racist, and we haven't brought the kids up to be racist neither.
Yeah, well I drive, I deliver in both areas. I mean, I never see anything. I never get anything against me.
he delivers with Asians, and I work with him, but we don't.
I disagree with you sometimes, don't I?
Well, yeah, you do.
I turn around and say they've all got British birth certificates, so they're British.
Yeah.
Well, that was Julie over the weekend. Here she is live with us now. Julie, as I was saying, you know, this town has changed, and it's changed in some respects quite dramatically. Your feelings about the way in which it's changed?
Well, it's changed a lot, as you say, because of all the friction between the Asians and the whites. We never had that 10 years ago. It was just a lovely community, but all of a sudden it's just gone really downhill.
Are you scared by it?
I am. Yeah, not a lot, but I am, because, like you say, it's the children I feel sorry for.
Are you worried for your own two children?
Yes, I am, because they're 10 and 2, and it's just, they've got nothing at all to look forward to, really.
Julie, thanks very, very much indeed. Let me just stress for you, Eamon, because you know this part of the world as well, this is not as simple as it's been painted. It is not just a matter of Asians attacking whites. We've got whites attacking Asians, and we've got, in some instances, a minority of instances, conflict between both the Bangladeshi and the Pakistani community. Neither is it just about race. A lot of these squabbles are about territory, they're about mobile phone thefts, they're also about drugs. Oldham, like many other towns, has problems that might be found in, say, Glasgow, Slough in Berkshire, the East End of London and other areas too, and they're very anxious to make that plain to the rest of the world that yes, they have problems, but they're not that dissimilar to problems elsewhere, and we'll be discussing them throughout this morning's programme, talking later, of course, to a Bangladeshi family, or a family of Bangladeshi origins who we've been staying with over the last few days too.
And do you know what, John, in many ways mirrors situations that I grew up with in Northern Ireland, and that we were all too familiar with there. John, thanks for explaining all that to us. A very tense situation there in Oldham. Obviously welcome your comments on the situation, and we'll try and reflect as many of those as we can throughout the programme this morning. It's 20 past the hour.
Yeah, and we're going off for a break now. After that, we'll be talking to someone I'm sure we've all met before.
Now, fashion. Fashion seems to be aimed at everyone in the moment, doesn't it? Doesn't it? It does, yes. Have you noticed? It does, yes. No, because teenagers, men, women, there's clothes for kiddies, there's even clothes for wee babies. But there's still only one style of shoe for the horse. Poor wee horses. Poor wee horses, all getting the same shoe in this day and age. It doesn't seem right, does it? No.
Well, that was really, really good, wasn't it?
That was. Keep quiet, they might be doing us after the break.
Just one new Ariel liquid tab is all you need for brilliant cleaning. Ariel, that's another load off your mind.
Statistics show that a dog's immune system declines by age 7, and that by age 8, it could be just half the strength of a 2-year-old dog. Forget statistics, because now there's IAMS. IAMS Senior is proven to take the immune system of an 8-year-old to the level of a much younger adult dog. IAMS gives your dog complete and balanced nutrition in every stage of his life, day by day, for a long, active time together. IAMS. Welcome to a new world of health.
Read the New Look TV Times and you'll meet all your favourite stars. You'll meet them as real people. In the kitchen. On their travels. As parents and as children. In fact, there won't be a side of them you won't meet, because nobody gets you closer to the stars than TV Times.
Of course, I'm the real star around here. Aren't I?
Who gives you extra? Who gives you extra?
A Halifax mortgage starts good value, and with our mortgage review, it stays good value.
It's worse than we thought. You'll have to use the probe. Now go under the rim. Weeks of dirt and grime. You'll need new Harpic Power Foam, our amazing new cleaning system. First it clings, then expands, so you can clean the rim and the whole toilet effortlessly. New Harpic Power Foam, expert cleaning power.
Sweetie darling, no.
New Crave Control patches from Boots, selected Superdrug stores and leading pharmacies. They could work for you.
New Findus Cod Crispies. Crank up the crunch.
Fleas? No problem. Program. It's taken orally, so there's no pesticide residue. And there's an injectable version for cats. Ask your vet for Program Flea Control.
If you haven't tried Charmin Ultra yet, you really must. You won't believe how good it feels. Only Charmin Ultra has such a unique, cushiony, soft surface to give you a comfortable, clean feeling every time. Lovely pattern. Wait till you feel it. Charmin Ultra. You won't believe it till you feel it.
On This Morning with Richard and Judy, the bikini dieters weigh in, humiliation or success after their first week. Captain Corellia-inspired 40s fashions and the 16-year-old carrying a nation's hopes to the Eurovision Song Contest.
The man that went to shocking lengths to cure his depression. The week ahead in soaps, how you can get a facelift in your lunch hour at midday money. It's all here, 10:30.
Now then, we've got a pair of people here this morning who have an uncanny talent for taking off celebrities, politicians, in fact anybody and everybody really. And they're neighbours of mine as well. Did you know
I
that?
didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Alistair McGowan and Ronnie Ancona. Morning to you.
Good morning.
You must feel a bit sort of...
Yeah, because do you ever feel you're being watched?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
sort of aware of all your mannerisms.
Oh, you are. Actually, you were going to be... You just missed it. You were so nearly done.
You were on the
Fiona.
OK TV list
You
when
were
you
on
were doing
the
OK
OK TV when we did that.
But we decided to do Nigel instead, you see.
Thank
Yeah.
goodness, right. And we did
It was lovely. Oh, no, you don't have to say that. No, really, no, yeah.
So Nigel had more to work on, didn't he? He had more sort of strange
Well, we were going to
mannerisms
do you
than
because
better
we had all,
nose
it was
than me, yeah.
fantastic for us. It was dreamy for us because it was all these celebs, and now you're not doing it anymore.
Isn't that a shame?
That's
We'll
very
have to have work.
selfish, of
Isn't
you.
it? Very, very selfish.
It's
I'm sorry,
perfect
I've
for
ruined
us.
your material. But I saw it last night, and there's some great new characters in it. I loved Helen Baxendale and James Nesbitt.
Helen Baxter was super. Yeah.
Them.
Yes. Hey, no, come on. I sound more like him today because my voice has gone down about 3 octaves just so early in the morning.
That's right. And Richard Madeley. Have you heard from him yet, dear Richard?
Yeah, I was on the show last week with both of them, so Judy had 2 Richards to cope with. And no, but honestly, it was fine. He seemed to quite like it, so no, it was lovely. Fine. Yeah, very nice. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Yeah. Welcome back. Welcome back.
But do you ever hear from anyone? I mean, does everyone take it in the great sporting way that Richard does, or not really?
We're not sure. I mean, Carol's smiling. She's great about it. She absolutely loves it. In fact, she rings up after the show and says, "Have you got a tape on that? Because I missed it." They want to see it.
Yeah,
And
well,
she's
generally we're
great.
not that, you know, we don't do anything nasty about people, do we, on the whole, we hope.
No.
So,
And
and everyone seems
Caroline
to like
and
it.
Craig, they love it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
From the royal family. Yeah, they were really nice about me, weren't they?
Yeah, they've taped them all and they used
Put them
to
together
watch
and watch them,
the
yeah.
royal
Which is really
family,
nice,
yeah.
But you see, you give them
She's
iconic
lovely.
status, don't you, by doing that, really? Like our Lorraine.
Yes. Well, you're Lorraine.
Well, Lorraine, God love her, she's still speaking to me.
Yeah.
I feel I have limited time before she'll walk into it and
Everyone
hit
seems
me
to
over
take
the
it
head.
in good spirits. I had a very nice fax from Hugh Edwards last week as well, which was very nice, a BBC newscaster
that is
who was become a
funny,
mainstay
yes.
of the show.
I
And he
thought
said he liked it very
yes.
much, which is lovely.
Yes. Obviously, we don't know about the bigger stars. You know, we don't really know because it's not that we don't really get much.
Yeah, like
chance
Michael Douglas
to-
and Catherine Zeta-Jones, who you've brought into your repertoire, and I wouldn't have found them the most obvious pair, but we're just going to see a clip now.
Oh, right,
Too
okay.
good.
That was such a hard day that day.
Why was
No, it was because we'd been filming for the 2 previous days, and we outdoors doing all the location stuff, and it had been freezing cold and really wet, but it keeps you on your toes, and then suddenly they put us in this bed in this wonderful warm room, and you had to remember everything and stay awake. It was sort of going, we're going to do the sketch and everything.
She's quite interesting voice actually at the moment because she's still Welsh, but she's getting a little bit American.
Yeah.
She
So
is, yes.
she's what attracted me to the role was. You know,
Yes.
she's getting sort of American tinges. So it's quite an interesting hybrid accent.
Well, where do your limitations lie, though? When do you know when you're beaten? What defines the parameters?
Sometimes it's the voice thing, and sometimes it's more now doing TV, obviously, the look.
And with Micah, it was very difficult for me to look like him. You do what you can.
Yes.
The same with Hugh Edwards, really. Do what you can. But anyone with a broader face, large mouth, small
Well, that'll be me out there, and that's good, yes.
Oh, no, there are many things we can do these days.
Yes.
Wouldn't get too cocky.
I'll have liposuction after that. That'll fix you.
People with small noses.
Your mum used to do impersonations, didn't you? When you were growing up?
She did. She didn't do anything professional, but she used to do them just around the table, really. At tea time, we used to have lovely
she's very
teas,
good
impressionist
as
teas.
well.
She's
very good.
She does a great Joyce Grenfell and all the people in the town where she lives. She does.
She's quite a good one of you. I'm just trying to do Alistair, because he does me all the time on national TV, embarrasses me all the time.
But he's behaving himself this morning. It's too early yet, isn't it?
It is. It's too early for me.
But you are back later on.
Yes.
Yeah, after 8:30.
Yeah,
For more.
on Lorraine.
Coming face to face with Lorraine Kelly, live on television.
But thanks for having us on, and I'm glad you enjoyed the show.
No, it's really nice
Keep
to
watching.
meet you. Less disturbing, but very pleasant. Thank you.
That's something.
Thank you, Alistair and Ronnie there. It's coming up to 7:30. Hello, good morning to you. Get out of bed. Here's the weather for the day ahead. That rhymed again.
GMTV weather with Piriton. A treatment for family allergies.
Good morning. As you can see on the satellite picture, there are some clear skies, bits and pieces of rain across the far north and west of the country, around northern areas of Wales, also across parts of Scotland. But you can see this system here just over France. I'm afraid that's going to be moving towards us during the course of today and into tomorrow as well. Mainly, though, it's sunshine. Across many parts of the country, some bits and pieces of mist around. That'll start to fizzle away during the course of the morning. But as it does so, at the same time, we are going to see the clouds starting to thicken and build across the far south and east. That marks the arrival of that system, but I think it'll take a good 24 hours before it starts to kick in. Now, you may well be wondering, if you're waking up across parts of Greater Manchester, northern parts of Wales, what we're talking about as far as the sunshine goes. Unfortunately, those areas where you're waking up to that rain and showers is going to stay there for the bulk of today, so you may well miss out on the sunshine. And temperature-wise too, quite a stiff, cool northerly breeze blowing, but if you do manage to find a nice sheltered spot, temperature's still in double figures. The best you can see is around 13 degrees. That's 55 in terms of Fahrenheit. Now tonight we've still got that system across the far south and east. That'll keep a bit of a blanket on things as far as temperatures go. Elsewhere, clear skies, meaning we could well see a bit of a frost. And then this, kabam, is the story for tomorrow morning. Very, very stiff wind, and also it's going to be wet, windy, and generally not very nice in about 24 hours' time. Here's your summary. Phone GMTV's weather call on 09063 66 60 60 for more detailed information about the weather in your area for today and the week ahead.
Right, it's just gone 7:30. Let's catch up with the news. Here's Kate.
Thanks, Fiona. Good morning to you. Police say they're prepared to use rubber bullets to prevent a repeat of last year's violent May Day protests in London tomorrow. 6,000 officers are being called in to keep the peace during the anti-capitalist demonstrations. Some unionists are calling for Northern Ireland's Education Minister, Martin McGuinness, to be arrested over his links with the IRA. The Sinn Féin MP is expected to admit later that he was the terrorist group's second-in-command in Londonderry on Bloody Sunday, but he'll deny allegations that he fired the first shot, prompting the army to open fire. 13 people died on that day. Protests are expected to continue at a domestic landfill site in Devon, where thousands of sheep carcasses are being buried. There have been 3 arrests as demonstrators try to stop lorry loads of animals being dumped at the site near Great Torrington. Nelson Mandela has paid tribute to Britain for its role in ending apartheid in South Africa. He addressed thousands at a special concert in London to say thank you for its years of support against the regime. 20,000 people attended the event in Trafalgar Square. The star-studded lineup included The Cause, Mel B and R.E.M. The time now is 7:32. More news at 8 o'clock, and now here's Fiona.
And David.
And David, both of you.
Beloved
Alistair and Ronnie,
colleague.
it could be. I hate to tell you, I was looking at that Ronnie on Kona there. She reckons she can do you. Blonde wig, she's already got your nose. Did you notice that?
Yes, that sort of beaky thing. I don't want to
Swear.
insult her, but it's
You'll
like
be
a
out.
chicken's nose, isn't it?
Oh no, it's lovely.
Mine is anyway. Hers is a little bit more petite and snubby than mine.
Fiona, stop digging a hole for yourself.
Oh, she's there.
Oh, she's watching, look.
So
no,
you
let's
have
get
a
on with it.
perfect nose.
Let's get on with it. Right, what are we doing in the next half hour?
Yes, we're returning to GMTV's House of Fear. Will the first of our frightened foursome be able to overcome their phobia? Well, they're in the capable hands because Penny's there. Oh, she's found a man already. No.
Oh, I have. I finally found one, look. My knight in shining armour, Fiona. Yes, welcome to the House of Fear. We have 4 phobics who are all going to be confronting their fears. We have got fears of spiders, heights, balloons, would you believe, and small spaces. We're going to be taking them up into a little corridor. Join us after the break.
Baby Bio. Huh? Look, your plants are starving. Where's your Baby Bio outdoor?
Baby Bio.
Oh, it's my nature to nurture.
I've always enjoyed football, but I can't play anymore. Last year, I was on a ladder at work when it collapsed. I hit the floor really hard, severely injuring myself. Life's difficult when an injury means you can't work. I called Claims Direct and discovered I was entitled to compensation. They worked really hard fighting my case and I was awarded £10,000.
Carl is glad he chose Claims Direct. Right now we're helping over 60,000 people get justice. And remember, if your claim is not successful, it won't cost you a penny. If you've been injured in an accident that wasn't your fault, at work, on the road, or a trip or fall anywhere, then contact Claims Direct today. For free advice 7 days a week, call 0800 970 0666 and speak to one of our Claims Direct specialists. That's 0800 970 0666. Call now.
New York, the Big Apple, from only £299. This superb 3-night city break from Media Travel is for GMTV viewers only. See the Empire State Building and the Statue of Liberty, take in a Broadway show, shop till you drop along 5th Avenue, or sample the delights of Greenwich Village. Fly from London, Birmingham, Manchester or Glasgow with Continental Airlines. Stay in a super hotel just off Times Square. All transfers are included and you'll be fully escorted. New York from an incredible £299. Phone us now on 01784 434 434.
Hey, how do you want to? Annie wins them both.
New Mini Baby Bell to go. One for you, one for your imaginary friend.
Sweetie darling, no. New Crave Control patches from Boots, selected Superdrug stores and leading pharmacies. They could work for you.
Take a penalty at Asda for your chance to win £1 million. Find out more at Asda now!
I spread the rich clover
on muffins and toast.
With crumpets and jams, how we like it most.
I like it on soju.
You dip in red.
It's great with their sarnies, so pass it here, Meg.
And it's baked with clover and cheese.
Churn for that rich clover taste.
So pass it back, please.
Clover. Loved all over.
Just after 25 to 8. Hello, good morning to you. You're waking up to GMTV today. More race trouble in Oldham over the weekend. John Stapleton is there for us this morning. Good morning, John.
Yes, good morning to you, Eamon. That trouble came before and after the game between Oldham Athletic and Stoke City. 2 petrol bombs thrown, 14 people arrested, 3 police officers injured, property and cars damaged. Just what Oldham did not need after that vicious attack on 76-year-old Walter Chamberlain last week, and increased tension, I am sad to report, in this, my hometown. We're going to throw now to Lee Jasper, who's in our Westminster studio. Lee is Secretary of the National Assembly Against Racism, and like me was born and brought up here in Oldham. Lee, thanks very much indeed for being with us. How do you account for this increased tension here in Oldham at the moment?
Well, actually, John, I was born in Cheetham Hill, Salford, but I grew up. My formative years were in Oldham. I account for the tension primarily explaining the long-term economic downturn that areas like Oldham, Huddersfield, Leeds, and other areas I could mention in that East Lancashire, West Yorkshire belt, Bradford included, who for a long time have had large black community areas, but for whom the local authority, local policing, local employment opportunities have been virtually nil, and therefore communities are binding together in extreme poverty without the opportunity for education or employment, and over time they begin to, and the Asian community is now following the path of the Afro-Caribbean community on these matters, they then begin to develop a culture which seeks to defend their communities against what they see as an outside threat for which they have no protection from the police or indeed the criminal justice system. Now, I know those are very general sweeping statements, but in a general sense, and there will be exceptions, in a general sense, Oldham, Moss Side, Huddersfield, Bradford and Leeds, these are black communities where it is a desert of opportunity.
Yeah, I take on board all that. Don't disagree with a single word you said, Lee, but something else has happened here. When I grew up here, the Asian community kept themselves to themselves. This younger generation of Asians seem to be rejecting the discipline, the code of discipline of their elders. And they're saying, we're not putting up with it, we're not putting up with this abuse, we're not putting up with these attacks. And they have, in certain instances, albeit a small pocket of them, become violent. And that's different. That's not how I remember Asian people in this town. Do you agree with that?
Well, it's not quite how I remember it. I was there in 76, from 71 until around about 79. I did my secondary schooling there. And certainly that's when the Bangladeshi community and Pakistani community started arriving in big numbers. They were certainly more reticent. But I have to say, John, they're following the same path as the Afro-Caribbean community. We used to defend the Glodic area as it is a largely Caribbean, then Bayesian, Barbadian community. And if I went to the town centre for a night out, one had to go in a group of 8, 9 or 10, simply in order to be protected. If I wanted to go from Glodic to Fit in the Hill or over to another area, Werneth in Oldham, you know, literally one had to jog there and jog back in big groups because you would invariably be chased through particular areas.
Sure. Just briefly, Lee, how do you view the prospect of the British National Party jumping on the bandwagon by putting up 2 candidates for the general election here, and the National Front threatening anyway to march through this town next weekend?
Well, I would suggest to the authorities, and I don't live there anymore, but I would suggest that march has got to be banned. And I view with sheer horror the potential of a BNP or NF march, or indeed them being involved in local elections. I think that can only serve to exacerbate, seriously, what is already a very, very tense situation.
There we have to leave it. Lee, thanks very much indeed for talking to us. Eamon, back to you in London.
John, thank you very much indeed. 19 minutes now before 8 o'clock.
Yeah, and I wonder if you suffer from a phobia, agoraphobia maybe, in which case you wouldn't like the thought of even stepping outside the door this morning. A fear of heights, flying, maybe spiders, probably the most common fears. If you do suffer from any of those, help is at hand. This week, we're welcoming you every day to the House of Fear. Yeah, if there's something that scares you silly, then you're not alone. There are 16 million people in this country who suffer from some sort of phobia. This week, we're giving 4 phobics the chance to confront their innermost fears and escape their phobias in our House of Fear.
All this week, we'll be coming live from the House of Fear. 25% of us have phobias. We're scared of everything from buttons to flying. 4 phobic viewers are going to be cured of their innermost fears. Join us as we take them on a life-changing journey.
I've read the backgrounds to the 4 phobics, and some of them, it really is debilitating the problems they have. But never fear, Penny's here all week, aren't you, Penny?
I am indeed, yes. Welcome to my second home, my little home in the country, the House of Fear. It's not really my home, of course, it's a hotel. Our volunteers, our 4 volunteers, they all arrived yesterday. They had to leave their families, their homes. They're coming here, and we have no outside stimulus, no televisions, no telephones, no nothing. We are going to cure them of their phobias by the end of the week, and I have some of them here. We have Russell, Suzanne and Gillian. Russell, you're scared of heights. How high? This table?
Yeah, maybe a bit lower. The chair you're probably sitting on.
So you couldn't stand on a chair, for example, to get something off the top shelf in the kitchen?
No.
So what happens if you've got a tin of beans up there and you desperately want to get them?
The girlfriend comes into play then.
Really?
And she gets up there and gets everything off.
And if you had to, if you found the girlfriend she wasn't in?
Yeah, the worst case scenario would be I'd do that, but it would make me feel uneasy and, yeah, rather sick.
Rather sick and unpleasant, and you'd probably have to go and have a sit down afterwards.
Yeah, yeah.
And Suzanne, scared of balloons? What an odd thing to be scared of.
It is. It started when I was 2. A balloon burst in my face and burnt the top of my lip, and ever since then I felt uneasy around them. I can't touch them. The worst thing is if a child's playing with the balloon, I have to get out the room because I know it's going to burst at some stage.
And what about if you went past a shop selling balloons?
I would walk in the road if I had to.
Well, we are going to sort you out by the end of the week. And you don't like small spaces, claustrophobic, right?
Spaces.
Yeah, so how small a space, for example?
The smaller it is, the worse it actually is, and the darker it is, the worse it is, and it just feels like your air's being actually sucked out of you, gasping for air.
So if you had to go up in a lift to the 40th floor, what would you do?
Walk.
You'd walk 40 floors. That is incredible. Well, the eagle-eyed amongst you will have noticed that we're missing one person. She is being wired up at the moment, and she is scared of spiders. Here is Karina's story.
Hi, I'm Karina from Leicester, and this is my family.
Karina's been scared of spiders for as long as I can remember. I can remember occasions where I've worked away and Karina's phoned me up in a fit of complete panic, crying and panicking and shaking because she's seen a spider and she doesn't know what to do because she's the only one in the house.
I think my mum's scared of spiders because they're sort of beasts.
I have a feeling of panic inside me. My heart's pounding. I just feel totally stressed out.
I hear her shout, "Ugh," when she sees one. So I wish she wasn't scared, or I wouldn't hear quite a lot of noise.
It'd make a big difference to us if Karina was cured of her phobia of spiders. Karina's in a state of panic on a daily basis.
Well, we're here in the bathroom, a place where those little things often end up. And we're here with Karina, sorry, I keep calling you Karina, and Dr. Hilary Jones. Hilary, what's happening here?
Well, Karina's monitored by this machine which measures her heart rate, which we can see at the moment is 149, 150, her respiratory rate, and we're getting a blood pressure reading every now and again as well. And compared to her resting rate yesterday, this is already a bit high. She's a bit apprehensive. She's on telly. But what it shows us, it gives us a real measurement of what happens to her body when she gets the terror that's involved when you're phobic. We can see how she's suffering because what it does to her body. And it's those reactions which stop her being confronted by those things every day in everyday situations, and it holds her life back and affects her quality of life.
Right, well, we've got life coach Pete Cohen. Pete?
Well,
just,
here we have a little house spider. And one of the things we'd like eventually be at the end of the week is for her to be able to maybe take one of these out of a bath.
Really? Karina, do you think you could actually do that at the moment? Actually, your heartbeat isn't going up that much. What is that, Hilary?
It's pretty high already, you see. It was fluctuating around 150 just now. She has suspicion that something like this is going to happen, so she's already, it's 153 now. She's pretty tense and nervous. The respiratory rate's gone up by 25%. It was up to 19 just now, which is significant.
And how are you feeling, Karina?
Get it out of the room.
Do you think you are going to be able to pick it out of the bath, though?
She's
no.
too.
All right, well, look, we're going to... Karina, we reckon that by the end of the week, Karina will not only actually be able to pick out the spider, but she'll actually probably enjoy picking out the spider. We're going to be, throughout the rest of the morning, we're going to be having the others put through their paces, so join us then.
Gosh, poor Karina. I mean, so many of us are scared of spiders. Actually, I don't mind them anymore. I always remember my mum, when I was little, used to just pick them up and put them outside.
Brave woman.
No fear at all. I still can't pick them up, but they don't scare me anymore. Do they scare you, spiders?
They don't scare me, only the venomous types. If you suffer from a phobia, you'll find lots of helpful information. We've got that on our website, and you can log on to that gmtv.co.uk. And as Fiona was saying earlier, there's such strange things that really do seriously terrify people, so there is advice there on the website. We're going to take a short break there. We're back with Paul Ross, and he's going to recommend what to watch on the telly tonight.
Just This one new Ariel liquid tab is all you need for brilliant cleaning. Ariel, that's another load off your mind.
Just as important as your child's first steps are your first steps to their financial security. Step 1, call the Baby Bond helpline, free on 0800 915 9898. Step 2, save up to £25 a month tax-free, and you'll help to build them a brighter future. Plus, their savings will grow free of tax. To put your child a step ahead, call for a Baby Bond information pack on 0800 915 9898. That's 0800 915 9898.
I love my dog as much as I love for you. But you may think my dog will always come through. All he asks from me is the food to give him strength.
Our biggest breakthrough in 30 years, proven to help protect and maintain the cells in your dog's body. New Pedigree Adult, for health you can see every day of his life.
Rise, the phenomenal album from Gabrielle. 5 massive hits, including the new smash, Out of Reach. Plus Sunshine, When a Woman, Should I Stay, and the #1 single, Rise. Rise, from Gabrielle, out now.
How can you keep your skin as soft as a baby's? Smoothing Johnson's baby oil onto wet skin locks in 10 times more moisture than many lotions and creams can on dry skin. And there's no greasiness, just baby soft skin. Johnson's baby oil. Try it in aloe vera too.
With this picnic table for just £24.99 at Woolworths, you may forget what you went in for. Super glue. Woolworths, well worth it.
Read the New Look TV Times and you'll meet all your favourite stars. You'll meet them as real people, in their real homes, on the prowl, in their dreams. In fact, there won't be a side of them you won't meet, because nobody gets you closer to the stars than TV Times.
Of course, it's me they really want to meet. Isn't it?
Sweetie darling, no. New Crave Control patches from Boots, selected Superdrug stores and leading pharmacies. They could work for you.
Hello. Good girl.
You're 5 weeks old. Your digestive system can only handle liquids,
Come on then.
which has its advantages. As for the disadvantages, there's Pampers New Baby, the first and only Pampers specially designed to handle pee, but also soft poo better than ever before, because newborns deserve extra care. Pampers New Baby absorbs what others don't.
Hello, good morning. 8 minutes before 8 o'clock, while our usual telly expert Richard Arnold is on holiday. We've got Paul Ross here to tell us and to give us your recommendations of what's on the box tonight. What's caught your eye, Paul?
Well, what a great day to start doing this, because Corrie tonight, apparently, according to the tabloids, we're going to find out who raped Toyah, or Toyah at least will find out. They sent me the tape, and they left the last 4 minutes off, so I still don't know. It's going to be a knicker gripper, that. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Absolutely great. But the other great news tonight is that we find out some of the people who didn't do it.
Okay,
and one
so
of those,
we begin
of course,
ticking
is
people off our list.
That's right, and we can certainly tick off Dougie in The Rover's Return, because he gets good news after Peter got good news about his DNA test.
Yeah, I never thought Dougie did it anyway.
No, I thought it was Peter, though, but it obviously isn't now.
Well,
What about that dodgy taxi driver guy?
He's still in the frame, definitely.
Yeah.
See, Dougie had a kind of motive, because
Yeah.
Toyah had shopped him for watering down the alcohol. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
that
that's
saga?
right, yeah.
So that was still going on. And the other kind of sad news tonight is that it's Galen Martin's Decree Absolute. And if, like me, you're a long-term Corrie watcher, you kind of feel, you know, I saw that romance blossom. you sort of have their ups and downs, and finally it's all over, and they're going to work out how they're going to tell the kids, so that's a bit sad.
But Martin's had this huge character change, hasn't he? Because he was always soft, old, reliable Martin, nothing ever bothered him, and now he's this horrible sort of caddish guy who's...
He should have gone off to Dubai with that other girl, but anyway.
Shouldn't he, yeah.
That's it, with that nurse. A bit of intensive care there. But anyway, we're going to see Dougie now, this clip that we've got.
Dougie celebrates, and watch out for the jumper on the cleaner. She's got a face like a welder's bench anyway. But check out this jumper, actually, it's fantastic.
Okay.
Well, am I glad that's out of the way?
What's that, love?
I am now officially in the clear. My DNA test results were negative.
Great. What are you looking so relieved for? If you knew you hadn't done it, had you?
Well, yeah, it's not as simple as that, though, is it? Doesn't matter whether you know you've done it or not. It's what other folks think. Believe me, I know.
Yeah, and I don't care if this DNA testing's infallible or not. It's still done by human beings.
Okay. Right, BBC One, 9 o'clock, clocking off. Everybody's talking about that, saying really good things.
Well, I love this series. People moan about the demise and the end of the one-off drama.
Yeah.
Clocking off kind of sneaks it in because they're not frightened to do whole episodes on just one often minor character. And tonight it's Barry, the very sweet, a bit shy security guard, who's got, I think, 2 kids who are being bullied at school. He hasn't got a lot of money. Suddenly he wins the football pools. Fantastic news, except that people start circling him. They want to share with the money. And one of the people who turn up is his ex's sister, Janice, who's got a sniff of the cash. And she's got problems of her own. She's not completely a villain because she needs a bit of dough. She's been dumped by her fella, needs some money. And so there's this weird, quite interesting mix between them, both being attracted. But she's turned up, basically, to kind of get the dough off him. Then she starts to fancy him. Then she finds out he's absolutely dynamite in the sack. So there's kind of, it's a really great episode. Lots of tension going on, lots of mixed motives. And the moment we're going to show you is a cracker. It's when she does that great thing where she just kind of hits on him. And it's just one of those friends. And it leads up to a bit of a frolic on the filing cabinets. We don't show that this time of the morning, but we do show her seducing Barry. This is a great bit.